I'm going to teach how to do a collaborative reading assignment with your students. Collaborative reading teaches students to use comprehension strategies while working cooperatively. That's what we really want our students to do, is to do more of activities together and learn from each other instead of just listening to the teacher all the time. Collaborative reading is a real active situation for the students in a reading situation. It's what we do is whenever we begin the collaborative reading, we start off where the teacher actually presents strategies. And the strategies that we use will be preview, click and clunk, get the gist, and wrap it up. Whenever you do the preview, you ask the students, first of all, when you go to a movie and you watch or before you go to a movie, you watch a preview to a movie. Do you know what's going to be in the movie? Do you know who the actors are? Do you know what historical period it will be? Do you learn whether or not you might like the movie? Do you have questions about what more you would like to know about the movie? When students preview before reading, they'll look at the headings, the bold print, your text features, things like that, to see exactly what they're going to read about, what information can they get quickly in a preview. Just like as you do with the movie, you quickly get some information about a movie before you go see it. This is what they're going to be doing with the book. They're going to brainstorm about the topic. You know how we show a book, say, I'm just using this book for an example. Show them the book and, what is the picture? What does the picture tell you about the book? And what does the title tell you about the book? And things like that. Well, that's what you're going to do in your preview part of collaborative reading. The next strategy that you're going to do, right, before I go to the next strategy, one thing that I thought was interesting is you can take about a minute and a half after your students look at the book and kind of tell what the story may be about. Have them write down everything they already know about the topic in a learning log, some type of a day journal or something. And then have them share their responses with each other for about a minute, and they can kind of talk about the book, this is what I think the book will be about, and kind of delve into that prior knowledge. And then after you have them discuss it, have them write predictions about things they already know. So they can write things down about, well, this is what I already know about having dreams. So we're still talking about Bonk's bad dream. This is what I know about having bad dreams, or this is what happened when I had a bad dream. Another strategy, the next one that we're going to talk about is click and clunk. Students click and clunk while reading each section of the passage. In other words, they get up on a section of a passage while you're reading. They may not quite understand it. So they're going to clunk it. It's going to be a passage that you're going to have to go back in and discuss more information about. But if they get the information, it's a click, click, click. They get the information, so they click that part of the passage. Many of the students that I work with, of course, have reading and learning problems, and they fail to understand a lot of the content that they read. So clicking and clunking is designed to teach the students how to pay attention to when they're understanding and when they're not understanding the information. So it kind of makes them more responsible for their reading and responsible for being able to say, I don't understand this, or hey, I do understand this because I already know some information about it. One thing that's really good are these fix-up strategies. If you don't know some information about a passage, and this is what we'll do in the click and clump section of our reading passages, is we'll use clump cards. And these are cards that you can have laying about your classroom. And so this one here says, reread the sentence without the word that you don't understand. Think about what information that is provided that would help you understand the meaning of the word, just like how we help them with decoding. Have them look at the passage and leave the word out and read everything around it and see if they can use that information to find out what does that word mean or what does that passage mean. Leave out some words that they don't quite understand. Another way is to look for a prefix or suffix of the word. Here we go with our decoding again. You can reread the sentence with the clunk and the sentences before or after the clunk, looking for clues. So this is another fix-it strategy. And the last one is break the word apart and look for smaller words that you know. So this is all in decoding words, and you know that when students are reading, that's one thing that really hinders their comprehension of information is the words they come up on that they can't decode or they don't know what the word actually means. The next strategy we'll talk about is get the gist. Students will learn to get the gist. They'll understand by identifying the most important idea in a section of the text. Usually this is a paragraph. The goal of getting the gist is to teach students to restate in their own words the most important point as a way of making sure they understood what they have read. The strategy can improve students' understanding and memory of what they have learned. It's what you should do is you should prompt them to identify the most important person, place, or thing in the paragraph that they've just read. Then you ask them to tell you in their own words the most important information about the person, place, or thing in the paragraph. You need to teach the students to provide the gist in just a few words. You don't want them to elaborate a whole lot. Just give you just minor details as far as what they're reading, and you'll be able to tell if they're getting the information or not. Another strategy that we'll use as far as the last strategy would be wrap it up. Wrap it up is where students will use formulating questions and answers about what they have learned, and they'll be reviewing the key ideas of the story. The goals are to improve student knowledge, understanding, and memory of what was read. So anything that they have read in the story, this is where you can tell that they have comprehended the information. I've actually got some sentences up here on the board. Show these sentences. Right here, how were blank and blank the same? How were they different? And here we are with our comparisons, compare and contrast, which is really good. You know, I'm 4th and 5th grade, so here we go with Common Core. What do you think would happen if, in other words, what happened if this happened in the story instead of this? Another question is, what do you think caused blank to happen? What other solution can you think of for the problem of? What might have prevented the problem of blank from happening? And what are the strengths or weaknesses of blank? And of course, these comparisons, problems that we have in one and the last one, of course, we can use bubble maps or any type of little strategy so that we can map out how we're getting answers or how they're answering the questions that we have up here. This is a way that they can wrap up the whole story, and then they will, of course, talk to each other about the answers to their questions. You'll have your students in small groups. Of course, I only have maybe 10 to 12 students in a classroom at a time. And by the way, the reason I don't have kids in my classroom is because we have ice on the ground. So, but I would have maybe three or possibly 4 students in a small group so that they can go through and do these different activities or use these strategies. One thing that you definitely would want to do is you would want to have different roles for the students, especially if you have a full classroom and you can make bigger groups. You would want to have a leader, and this would be a student that would be able to lead the group by saying what to read next and what strategy to apply next. Pretty much they ask, they're actually acting as the teacher. Then you have a Clunk expert. This student will use the Clunk cards that I was showing you here and remind the group about the steps to follow when trying to figure out difficult words or concepts. You'll have an announcer. This student calls on different group members to read or share an idea. You'll have an encourager. Of course, we all need an encourager in our group. And this student watches the group and gives feedback. And a reporter, during a whole group wrap-up, this student reports to the class the main ideas that the group learned and shares a favorite question the group has generated. And of course, we have a timekeeper because we always have to worry about how much time we're using, and we want to stay inside of that. And if we're doing a 90-minute literacy block, we want to stay inside of that 90 minutes. And of course, the teacher's role is once you have taught the strategies and procedures to your students, then they've begun working in their cooperative learning groups. And this is where they begin to learn from each other, which is great because, believe it or not, I feel like students actually can learn more from each other than they can by just listening to a teacher, especially my students do. They tend to listen to each other, and they're able to follow each other's instructions, and they have that whole collaboration going on, talking about a story or what one child felt about a story, another child might feel differently, and they bring out points that neither any of them have even thought about. And of course, whenever you do this, the leader will have a cue sheet. So it would have a before reading, which would be your preview. Your during reading would be your read, your click and clunk, and your get the gist. And after reading, you'd have your wrap up, and then your compliments or suggestions that you would want to do at a later time. Of course, for collaborative reading, teachers have worked with what happens in their classrooms And once students have learned the strategies of preview, click and clunk, get the gist and wrap it up, they can apply them in cooperative ways. Teachers also value the gains that students make on their reading achievement test by being able to use these strategies while they're doing other activities in reading. But I recommend collaborative reading. I think it's a great process for the students to do. And that's it. Thank you.